from Matthew's Gospel. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, today is not only the Sunday after All Saints' Day, which we usually celebrate as if it were the feast day. It is actually the Feast of All Saints. And that doesn't happen that often. And so we come together and, as the saints of God, the elect, one of the earliest names that Christians called each other, to observe and remember, and to, in some way, connect with those whom the church has formally accorded the title saint or holy, from the two saints whose relics are contained within our altar, Saint Maurice and Saint, someone knows, there's another one. There are relics of two people there within our altar. There's a Latin plaque that attributes it to the Bishop of Aberdeen in 1930, consecrating it and sealing them in there. We have wonderful stuff in our history. And so the church has often called people saint who led an exemplary life, or a life of note, a life to whose invocation miracles have been attributed. We see it formally continuing a designation process in Rome, where saints' causes are being advanced all the time. John Paul II was canonized, Paul VI was canonized. But what is a saint if not something formal? I don't know what it is about getting a little older, but I return to when I was younger a lot in my thoughts. And I return to a time when I couldn't read, and yet I sang a lot because I went to a school which was a singing school. And we didn't sing that many hymns in chapel, but we knew them all by heart. And without a doubt, the favorite hymn at our school was in the old hymnal, number 243. In the new hymnal, it got advanced 50 numbers. It is now hymn 293. And it's a musical setting to the tune Grand Isle of Lesbia Scott's poem. It used to be in the section called Hymns for Children. You may know this hymn as well as I do. I won't sing it. I sing a song of the saints of God, patient and brave and true, who toiled and fought and lived and died for the Lord they loved and knew. And one was a doctor, and one was a queen, and one was a shepherdess on the green. They were all of them saints of God, and I mean, God helping to be one too. They loved their Lord so dear, and his love made them strong, and they followed the right of Jesus' sake, the whole of their good lives long. One was a soldier, and one was a priest, and one was slain by a fierce wild beast. And there's not any reason, no, not the least, why I should be one too. They live not only in ages past, there are hundreds and thousands still. The world is bright with the joyous saints who love to do Jesus' will. You can meet them in school, or in lanes, or at sea, in church, or in trains, or in shops, or at tea. For the saints of God are just folk like me, and I mean to be one too. We sang that all the time. and then went out and were horrible to each other. And our teachers would say, "Did you hear that last line? How are you going to be a saint if you did that to Johnny over there?" And would hold us accountable to what we just sung. And maybe we didn't always act like it, but we always were held accountable for the way we should behave, the way we should think. And we strove to be better. In our school prayer, there was this quaintly arcane phrase that we might fight toward that perfect manhood that lies in front of us. I'm sure it's been taken away from the school prayer by now, especially since it's a co-ed school. But the idea wasn't that there was some sort of perfect muscular Christian ideal out in front of us, but that there was a completeness to our humanity that we hadn't yet realized that was out there, and we could strive toward it. We would never in this world attain it, but it was in the striving toward it that we would become sanctified in God, that we would become saints of God. And in today's gospel, we are given the recipe of sanctity. In the so-called Beatitudes, blessed are the. And I'm not going to talk about each of them because most of them are straightforward, two of them are tricky, and one is darn near impossible to understand, and that's the one I'm going to talk about. Most of them are easy. Blessed are those who mourn, they shall be comforted. Well, those who don't mourn don't need comfort. That's obvious. Blessed are the meek. Yes. Those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Excellent. Merciful. Pure in heart, peacemakers, bravo, they all get a medal. Those who were persecuted for righteousness, now we're getting, okay, yes, tougher. Those who are reviled and persecuted for God's sake. I think we can make an argument that it is in persecution and hardship that we find ourselves, if it doesn't kill us, stronger for the battle. In the hardships that we endure, if we can endure through God's grace, we're better off and stronger on the other end of it. Okay, but now what about this? Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I don't know about you, but when I hear poor in spirit, I don't think an immediate inheritor of the kingdom of heaven. I think about some poor, depressed guy, some really morose girl, someone who really just ruins your day at the very sight of them because they're a drag. You know that character in Peanuts, that Charles Schultz, what was that person? It was a pig pen who walked around with a cloud above the head. Or as Spiro Agnew put it, a nattering nabob of negativity. These people that just view life through mud-colored glasses. You know them as well as I do. And when I hear the phrase poor in spirit, I think those folks are poor in spirit. As ever, what is poor in depth is the English language when reading about complex philosophical and theological subjects. This was written in Greek, and the Greek word used was pneuma. I'm not going to say that too loudly in COVID time, but because to do that we'll end up projecting too much. Pneuma, as in pneumatic tire, wind. The word in Latin is spiritus, spirit in English. Poor in spirit, wind. St. Augustine, writing in the 4th century, the one who wrote City of God, the one who wrote the Confessions, the one who said, Lord, give me chastity, but not quite yet, the one who is responsible for most of the foundations of Western theological thought, and Eastern for that matter, had this to say about this passage. He said, those who are of high spirits, full of spirits, are windy. Think of it, windbags, puffed up. These are things we use about people who aren't overly pleasant to be around. He's a windbag, he's puffed up. Not compliments. So what is, if that is rich in spirit, poor in spirit is the opposite. It's humble. It's lowly. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And then from that first beatitude flow all the others. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. The meek will inherit the earth. Those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be satisfied. The merciful shall obtain mercy. It is through poverty of spirit that we are able to enjoy the abundance of comfort, inheritance, satisfaction, mercy, and peace. May we seek to be saints of God. May we, when we encounter other saints of God, be it in school, lanes, shops, or at tea, may we seek and serve Christ in them. May we seek to be poor in spirit, so that we might become rich in blessing. Because the saints of God are just folk like me and thee. And we need to be one too. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.